Good evening. I'm Simone Sanders Townsend, and we begin tonight with the White House digging in its heels in full Orwellian 1984 style, telling Americans to reject the evidence of their own eyes and ears about that Signal Group chat security leak debacle. This continues even as The Atlantic published the entire chat thread, including this key portion from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, with a stunning amount of specific detail of the military operations leading up to and even during the bombing of Houthis in Yemen. You can see it right here on your screen. And now, for a third day, the entire administration has continued to hold to their absurd stance that none of that information that you can literally read and see for yourself should be considered classified, and that we should all just move on.
Upplays it. I think it's all a witch hunt, that's all. There was no harm done because the attack was unbelievably successful that night. Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this.
The conversation was candid and sensitive, but as the President National Security Advisor stated, no classified information was shared.
None of the information on there at any point threatened the operation or the lives of our servicemen. And in fact, it was a very successful operation.
Nobody's texting war plans. My job, as it said atop of that, everybody's seen it now, team update, is to provide updates in real time. General updates in real time, keep everybody informed. That's what I did.
Do you trust the Secretary of Defense, who was nominated for this role, voted by the United States Senate into this role, who has served in combat, honorably served our nation in uniform? Or do you trust Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a registered Democrat and an anti-Trump sensationalist reporter?
You don't have to trust Jeffrey Goldberg. You don't even have to know who Jeffrey Goldberg is or what he's about. Trust yourself. Read for yourself. We've left it up on the screen for that very reason. Joining me now is Congressman Joaquin Castro of Texas, a member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. And he was in that hearing today. Congressman, I want to play for everyone just a snippet of your questioning during today's hearing. Take a listen, folks.
There is no way, having sat on this committee for 9 years, that somebody would come in with that information and give us something that says unclassified. You can walk out of this room with this information and give it to whomever you want. You know, with all respect, you and I worked on the committee at the same time. Tulsi, you and I came in together. I've never had an issue of beef with you. John, you and I are both from Texas. Y'all know that's a lie. It's a lie to the country.
They knew it was a lie. We know it's a lie. People can read for themselves on the screen. Yet they held fast in that hearing to assertions that there was no classified information, that there was nothing, no methods were shared. They didn't endanger anyone. What's your takeaway after that very explosive and I would argue informative hearing?
Simone, they're trying to convince us that the sky is green. This is a common playbook from Donald Trump and the people underneath him, which is to deny everything, never admit that they're wrong, never apologize. And this was gross incompetence and gross negligence that endangered our military members and endangers our allies as well.
Go.
No, and
Please.
So, you know, as I mentioned in that hearing, I've sat on the Intelligence Committee for 9 years, and there's so many things that we've been presented that are not nearly as sensitive as this, that come to us with high classification. So for the Director of National Intelligence, the CIA Director, and others to sit there and say that this is unclassified is absurd. And it's an insult. It's an insult to the American people.
You know, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, it is literally her job to know the classifications, to triple check what someone else has classified as something, and if it's misclassified, it is her team and she that says, actually, no, we need to up that, or actually, no, fine. They're like a clearinghouse for information. I was very struck by the fact, and I knew Tulsi Gabbard from before, but I was just still struck by the fact that she didn't seem to take her role in this as seriously as I would have thought. The DNI is the clearinghouse. So how are you in the hearing just, you know, oh, I don't really know, I was traveling, I don't really know where I was traveling, I didn't get a chance to look, I'm really unsure?
Yeah, I mean, what's striking, I mean, I mentioned in the hearing, you know, I've never had a personal beef with any of those people. But the fact is that President Trump nominated and put in place the most unqualified cabinet in American history. And it's dangerous for the American people. And it's an insult to the American people and also an insult and not fair to the national security professionals and military professionals who would get court-martialed or possibly go to jail for releasing information, the kind of information that was released in this dangerous and reckless way.
Many have called for Hegseth to resign. The top Democrat on the Intel Committee in the Senate has called. Senator Warner has called for both Hegseth and Waltz to resign. Congressman Jeffries has called on Donald Trump to fire Hegseth. Colorado Democrats Bennett and DeJette have joined calls for Hegseth and Waltz to be ousted. Even Pete Hegseth's own hometown paper said if he had any honor, he would resign. Do you think not just Pete Hegseth, but also Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, and also the DNI Tulsi Gabbard should resign?
Well, I think, first of all, Pete Hegseth, who shared those plans on the Signal chat, should absolutely resign. I think there should be a further independent investigation, and whoever was responsible, people that didn't put any kind of checks and balances in place, they should also be held accountable.
So you think an investigation first, and depending on what comes out from the investigation, then next steps should be taken?
I think it's clear for Hegseth. I think the others should also be investigated.
You know, Republican senators have broken ranks to call for an investigation into the Signal leak. Roger Wicker, who chairs the Armed Services Committee, told The Hill that he would be asking the Defense Department's Inspector General to investigate the scandal. Are you today, yesterday, Don Bacon, congressman out of Nebraska, he was very forceful, and today even more so, that this is an egregious mistake. Are you surprised that Senator Wicker is stepping up in a way that other Republicans have not?
I'm surprised that he's the only one among the Republican senators so far that I can tell who's really stepping up. The Republican Party right now is basically so controlled, and the senators and members of Congress are so controlled by Donald Trump and so scared of Donald Trump and Elon Musk's money in primaries that they're reluctant to even speak up on something like this. You know, we saw what they did to Lloyd Austin. We saw what they did to Hillary Clinton on Benghazi and emails and so forth. This is the kind of thing that if a Democratic administration did this, they'd be on Fox News, every single one of them, 24 hours straight.
If Republicans writ large across the board, elected Republicans in Congress, especially Republicans in the House, won't speak up on this, how can Democrats say, you know, we're going to work with you where we can? It feels like if we can't get on the same page about our national security, there's nothing else you all can be on the same page about.
No, it's true. I mean, it's tough. And not just on this issue, but on other issues. Cuts to Medicaid, for example. Now the Republican Party's willingness to even start to look at cuts to Social Security and other things that were sacrosanct before, that they now, because Donald Trump has changed his position or come out with a strong position, they're basically falling in line. So it makes it very difficult. You
know, you talked about the juxtaposition between what Republicans are saying now, what they said before. I just want to put up on the screen. This is Signal versus her emails. You've got Donald Trump then saying Hillary was the one who sent and received classified information on an insecure server, putting the safety of the American people under threat. Now the main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. Hegseth then was any security professional, military, government, or otherwise would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. Now nobody was texting war plans. I feel gaslit, and I felt gaslit watching the hearing yesterday and today.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's trying to convince people that the world is upside down, and it makes you wonder also. So this was one Signal chat. Was this the only time that they got on Signal and all talked about classified and sensitive national security information? How long has this been going on? I think we didn't have a chance to get to those questions because we were asking about this incident, but there's got to be an investigation about what other information, national security information, has been discussed like this in this careless way.
Has there been a willingness from the chair of your committee to call for that type of investigation?
You know, I didn't hear that today. I certainly hope that both the Senate Intelligence Committee and the House Intelligence Committee will do a thorough investigation on their own. They absolutely should. And for us not to do it would really be a dereliction of duty as members of Congress.
You know, Speaker, we don't have time to play this out, but Speaker Mike Johnson says that investigation doesn't seem necessary and that the signal leak seems overblown. In the time that we have left, why does this matter? Because I don't think it's just about this one particular chat. It's not about Jeffrey Goldberg. It's not even about signal per se. Why does this matter to folks? Why should we not just let it go?
Well, on the one hand, because information like that getting into the wrong hands puts Americans at risk. So most directly, that's why it matters. But it's also a dangerous signal that this country is moving closer and closer towards authoritarianism, because you have the top people in government who have clearly done something that is wrong, won't admit it, won't acknowledge it, won't investigate it, really. And those are the people that are in charge of the country, and they're not willing to make it right.
It's a choice when they lie to us. Congressman Joaquin Castro, thank you so much for coming in today, and thank you for your service. Coming up, folks, a deeper dive into just how concerning these signal chats are for our national security, especially when it's covering topics that are literally a matter of life and death, as the congressman just noted. Former CIA Director John Brennan will join me next. You don't want to miss it.
Heart failure or chronic kidney disease, Farxiga can help you keep living life, because there are places you'd like to be. Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine and bacterial infection between the anus and genitals, both which may be fatal. Severe allergic reactions, dehydration, urinary tract or genital yeast infections, and low blood sugar. Stop taking and tell your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, rash, swelling, trouble breathing or swallowing. Tell your doctor about lightheadedness, weakness, fever, pain, tenderness, redness or swelling between the anus and genitals. Ask your doctor about Farxiga today.
And now here's Chris Cunahan with the Leaf Filter Gutter Report and what changing weather conditions can mean for your home. Chris?
Our patented leaf filter technology keeps your gutters clog-free year-round. No matter where you live, no matter the climate. Locally trained professionals will clean, repair, and install the Leaf Filter Gutter Protection System. Leaf Filter guarantees clog-free gutters for the life of your home. Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
Toe fungus is tough to kill, and it can spread.
It's time to start using Fungi Nail. Maximum Strength Fungi Nail is so powerful it cures and prevents fungal infections. Plus, it has aloe and tea tree oil to restore skin health. Say goodbye to toe fungus with Fungi Nail.
Grr, what's Simply Safe got that I don't?
24/7 monitoring to help stop crime in real time.
Stop. This is Simply Safe.
Maybe Simply Safe and I could work together.
Unlikely.
There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Hey, did you find the manual?
Yes!
Summon Dale!
Who's Dale?
American Home Show now provides video chat with live repair experts for home fixes over the phone. Let's go fix that oven.
Okay, Dale.
Sign up today at ahs.com.
You probably know Vistaprint for business cards because we've printed them for millions of small businesses over the past 25 years. But we also print signs, stickers, shirts, and more. If you need it, we print it. Print it all with 20% off for new customers at Vistaprint.com.
Bye-bye, cough.
Later chest congestion. Hello, 12 hours of relief.
12 hours? Not coughing? Hashtag still not coughing?
Mucin XDM gives you 12 hours of relief from chest congestion and any type of cough, day or night. Mucin XDM. It's comeback season.
Pack at your pace, store your things until you're ready. Then we deliver to your new home. Pods.
Got an itchy throat from allergies? Claritin Liquid provides powerful all-day allergy relief in an instantly soothing liquid. For relief of even your most irritating symptoms, like an itchy throat. Claritin Liquid. Live Claritin Clear.
At IHG Hotels and Resorts, you can explore the neighborhood. Or live like a local. Unplug for the day. Or plunge into a long weekend. With IHG's 19 hotel brands, you can guest how you guest.
Children face a lot of choices as they grow up. Families can support their choices with a Met prepaid tuition savings program. Pay for future education at today's prices. Because you can't predict the future, but you sure can prepare for it.
Go beyond the headlines with the MSNBC app. Read, listen, and watch live breaking news and analysis anytime, anywhere. Go beyond the what to understand the why. Download the MSNBC app now.
It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new life for me. And I'm feeling.
Welcome to the 4 parks of Universal Orlando Resort.
Signal is safer than traditional cell phone traffic. You want to plan a meeting, that's fine. But the idea of this kind of classification information that could, as Jeffrey laid out, could put people in harm's way, there's no debate on this. So what's next is how many other of these chats and what is the content, and there needs to be a review.
That was the Vice Chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, today, not only detailing why putting classified information in a Signal group chat is an irresponsible and frankly dangerous way to handle our national intelligence, but also asking the one big question that still remains unanswered. How many more of these Signal chats exist? Joining me now is former CIA Director John Brennan, MSNBC Senior National Security and Intelligence Analyst. Director Brennan, let's start there. Senator Mark Kelly was on our air today, and he also had questions about other Signal chats. I want to play for you what he had to say.
I'm not sure it was in the open hearing, but I asked if there were other Signal chains with other principals. And the answer is yes, there is. I also asked about, have you gone through and checked to make sure there's no other random people in there? One of the witnesses says they did, the other didn't. So there's a possibility that there, on other Signal chains, that there are other random people that were included.
Director Brennan, is this unusual, one? And two, is this dangerous?
Well, yes, Simone, this is very unusual, and it seems to be getting uglier by the day, if not by the hour, in terms of what we're learning. And as Senator Warner and as Congressman Castro mentioned earlier, it's unclear exactly the extent to which the Signal chat has been used for other principal committee discussions. This was a Principals Committee virtual meeting that was held on Signal. And it was clear that they're talking about a pending military operation that really should have been in top secret systems and communication networks, but they chose to use Signal. Now, Signal, as pointed out, is encrypted when it's transmitted, but it's not encrypted when it gets to somebody's phone. And just on this instance here, on Yemen and the Houthis, the Iranians are the Houthis' main principal sponsor. The Iranians have very sophisticated technical capabilities. Maybe they have compromised Jeffrey Goldberg's phone or one of the other principals' phones, and they would have had access to this. And it wouldn't have taken them much to be able to reach out to the Houthis and say that U.S. aircraft and missiles are on the way to batten down the hatches, but also put together your air defense systems so that you can, in fact, prevent a successful attack. So I think looking back on it, I think we're all very thankful that nothing like that happened. But if they're using Signal for regular communication that includes classified information of a sensitive nature, there really is a question of what other sensitive programs or sensitive activities and of a classified nature have been put at risk.
Director Brennan, today the current CIA director and since then others have claimed that Signal comes loaded on the government phones already. And I worked in the Biden administration in the first year, and I could tell you Signal was not on my government phone, and there was a very small group of people within the federal government that had access to text messaging on their government phones. What do you make of the only way I can describe it, sir, is gaslighting from the current CIA director about what is happening with this instance, but also the broader security apparatus?
Well, that's why I think we need to get to the truth. And I think a first step was made when Senators Wicker and Reid asked the Inspector General of the Pentagon to do a thorough and immediate investigation on this so that we can actually understand what also might be at risk. And then to find out what has been going on in the first 70 days of the Trump administration, where national security matters have been discussed and deliberated, and to see whether or not there has been additional leakage of information in these unsecured channels. So, the Director Ratcliffe and Director Gabbard today and yesterday, I think they were dissembling a bit. I think they're trying to figure out exactly what happened themselves, and maybe they did not put any classified information onto this Signal chat. But it's clear that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, as well as Mike Waltz, who is the chairman of these principal committee meetings, and he is the one responsible for setting the agenda, inviting individuals to participate, and to actually conduct this meeting. So again, I think we're going to learn a lot more, and hopefully we're going to learn that not sensitive information has been actually compromised.
Look, Director Brennan, let's broaden this out and just talk about sensitive information, if you will. You know as well as I do that, and I said this last night, that information is the currency in our national security space. And information can make the difference in saving someone's life. It can also make the difference in people being killed. And it just seems to me that the conversation about this specific Signal chat and then how the Trump administration is handling information even more broadly, potentially sensitive information, is not taking into account that information can cost people their lives. There are many, I saw a photo of you recently. You're like, which picture was this? The photo, the iconic photo that everybody talks about. You're in the Situation Room, Secretary Clinton, then Vice President Biden, President Obama, and so many other people watching an operation go down. This photo was released after the fact. And it struck me today as I was looking at the picture that you all were standing there together because you had been in the room together discussing this very particular operation, and the seriousness through which you all carried out that particular duty that we know about, that operation. That level of seriousness just is not currently present, and I'm really struck by this because I'm concerned about the people whose lives depend on that.
You're absolutely right, Simone. Intelligence is the lifeblood of our national security. It allows us to carry out successful operations, whether they be military, diplomatic, or intelligence operations. But it also is the intelligence that keeps our sources and methods secure, and it protects lives and saves lives. And if that intelligence is compromised because of the inexperience or cavalier attitude of individual, it puts so much at risk. It puts U.S. lives at risk. It puts our national security around the globe at risk, because, again, intelligence is what feeds and fuels our national security apparatus. And it's clear that the individuals at the very top echelon of our national security infrastructure were not doing what they needed to do. And again, I think there were serious questions that were raised appropriately during the whole nomination and confirmation process. But unfortunately, I think we are now seeing the results of this inexperience and the lack of credentials of people. And whatever credibility they might have had, I think they're quickly destroying it, particularly when they've been disparaging and denigrating Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a respected journalist. And he was trying to do the appropriate thing, which is to expose this big problem. And now they're on the defensive and the attack and using, I think, just very, very awful language in terms of trying to, again, denigrate and disparage him.
There are some other journalists that, one, would not have left the chat, and two, wouldn't have told us about it. They would have saved it to put it in their book a year later. John Brennan, appreciate your time. It's very good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Simone.
Coming up, everyone, there are critics of Hegseth, and they warned that he was not qualified to lead the Defense Department. Well, in less than 2 months, he may have proven those critics right. We're going to be right back.
When our numbers guy Frank goes on vacation, the deals on the most affordable German-engineered car brand in America get even better.
You're coming back!
Hop in during Volkswagen Deal Days. The deals are in while Frank is out. Get up to a $2,500 customer bonus on select new 2025 models.
Shoes and endless cleaning. Your floors never stay clean. Meet Muddy Mat, the ultra-absorbent microfiber mat that traps dirt instantly.
Dog parents, this is a must-have.
My floors have never been so clean.
You just place the Muddy Mat in front of the door and you'll save up so much time cleaning the floors. Go get one. Thank me later.
Call or go to trymuddymat.com or scan the QR code on the screen to claim your 70% off and get your free Muddy Mat today.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cuno Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high-absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Bye-bye, cough.
Later chest congestion. Hello, 12 hours of relief.
12 hours? Not coughing? Hashtag still not coughing?
Mucin XDM gives you 12 hours of relief from chest congestion and any type of cough, day or night. Mucin XDM. It's comeback season.
Million adults, like Maria, who've taken Ozempic.
I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 10 years ago. It was overwhelming, but it didn't stop me from opening my own salon. I'm Maria, and this is what my Ozempic era looks like. I'm lowering my A1C, and I lost some weight too.
I also learned some people take Ozempic to lower the risk of major cardiovascular events like stroke, heart attack, or death, and others take it to lower the risk of worsening chronic kidney disease.
Don't share needles or pens or reuse needles. Don't take if you or your family had MTC, MEN2, or if allergic to it. Stop taking and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck or any of these allergic reactions. Tell your provider if you plan to have surgery or a procedure, are nursing, pregnant, or plan to be. Serious side effects may include inflamed pancreas, gallbladder or severe stomach problems, or changes in vision. Call your prescriber if you have any of these symptoms. Taking with a sulfonylurea or insulin may raise low blood sugar risk. Common side effects include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, constipation. Some side effects lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems. Discover the GLP-1 with the most FDA-approved uses. Ozempic.
Today you and tomorrow you aren't the same person. If you're tired of what Today You is doing, get an Accounting Fundamentals Certificate from WGU School of Business and get a whole new Tomorrow You in just 6 months. Enroll today at WGU.
Attention super markup shoppers. It's about time we paid everyday low prices, like at Aldi, not increasingly high prices for potatoes. Aldi doesn't play pricing games. That's why they're #1 in everyday low prices.
It's an Aldi thing.
The reviews are in. U of M Flint has been named one of the state's best online schools, with top-ranked degrees and the most affordable programs in Michigan. U of M Flint, where success leads. Rated E.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says sharing of classified information in a Signal group chat is not a surprise to anyone who paid attention during his confirmation hearing that just happened in January.
The totality of your own writings and alleged conduct would disqualify any service member from holding any leadership position in the military, much less being confirmed as the Secretary of Defense.
Do you think that the way to raise the minimum standards of the people who serve us is to lower the standards for the Secretary of Defense?
You're not qualified, Mr. Hegseth. You're not qualified. You talk about repairing our defense industrial complex. You're not qualified to that. And you are asking us to lower the standards to make you the Secretary of Defense simply because you are buddies with our president-elect.
And yet the Senate still voted to confirm the Fox News weekend hosts with no experience managing a large organization. Joining me now is Tom Nichols, staff writer for The Atlantic, and MSNBC political analyst and former Senator Claire McCaskill. Claire, let me start with you. And there are some people that might be watching and say, why are you all still talking about this? And it was important to us to continue to talk about this because it matters. Our nation's national security matters. What the people in charge of this government do matters. And the fact that they have continuously lied to us, at least over the last 24 to 48 hours, that matters too. It is a decision. It is a choice to lie.
Yeah, their lies are insulting too, Simone. I mean, they're insulting. You know, Tom has served as faculty at the War College and is deeply steeped in these issues. I served on the Armed Services Committee for 12 years and had to go into the SCIF for discussions much less sensitive than what weapons are being used in a timeline for an attack that's occurring sometime in the future. So it is insulting that they're lying. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard pretending she doesn't know where she was or what phone she was on. You know, they did a scramble before these hearings and all got their acts together and decided what they were going to say. And frankly, the notion that this is not classified is ridiculous. And here's the point I really want to make. Give me a sec. The military that is serving right now and the CIA agents that are in the field, imagine what they feel right now. They are not only watching a double standard in action, because they all know they would be out if they did this. They would be in major trouble, potentially court-martialed. I'll defer to Tom to clarify that if he wants to. And then watching them lie. These are their leaders. These are who they depend on to protect them. So I can't decide which is worse, the lies or the fact they did it in the first place. Because in this instance, the cover-up is got to be so demoralizing to America's intelligence community and the military.
You know, Tom, when I worked for the vice president in the White House, there were many times, actually, I had to make the decision not to lie. And today, I just kept coming back to an instance while we were overseas, and something happened to where that was very serious, where we had to hold our traveling party. We had press with us, lots of, important people. And when it was time to move again, we held folks for like 2 hours. And I was in the back with the vice president, her senior advisors, all these government folks. And I said, well, we have to tell the reporters what happened. And folks in the room said, oh, do we really have to tell them? And I looked at the vice president. I said, well, it's the vice president's choice if she would like to make the traveling press aware of what occurred today, or if she would like for me to tell them something else. And the vice president looked at me and she said, I am not a liar. And I said, I didn't take you to be a liar, ma'am, so we are going to tell the truth. And we went through all the proper channels to tell the truth, but it is a choice to lie on this, Tom. And it is, the words I would like to use are not appropriate for national television. How about that?
You know, it's a choice to lie, and I'm going to cut slack to politicians throughout all of recorded history for saying that sometimes, they shade the truth, sometimes they lie, sometimes they don't want to admit things. This administration, and you saw this in his first term, in Trump's first term, they're lying when telling the truth would be easier. That's the other thing that's kind of just incredible about this, and it would be, telling the truth would be less damaging. The hearings today, the only thing worse, and I was thinking about what Claire was saying about this, the only thing worse than them lying about this would be as if they were telling the truth and saying, I don't remember where I was. I can't remember what phone I'm on. I don't really know if that's classified. I don't recall if that's classified. Hey, you're the director of the CIA. You're the director of national intelligence. It's your job to know when things are classified. It is your job to know when you're on an unsecure communications line. There are staff all around you whose only job is to prevent things like this from happening. And so, you're left with exactly that problem of either you're sending the message to all of the people out there who follow the rules and who protect secure information, and saying there's two standards. There's one for the little people, and then there's one for us. Or you're saying we are so dreadfully incompetent that we don't even know when we're looking at classified information. And obviously, I don't buy that latter explanation. They know what they're looking at. They knew the stuff they were looking at is classified. I don't think there was anybody on that chat who really somehow said, oh, I'm sure this is all completely, harmless and unclassified information. The choice in the end was to say, get through it, stonewall, and hope that, as most Donald Trump scandals do, that this will blow over in a day or two.
Except it's not blowing over, Claire. You've got a number of Democrats, House Democrats, just today that called for Hegseth to resign or be fired. Take a listen.
Leader Jeffries also sent a letter to the president yesterday calling for Pete Hegseth to be fired immediately. Do you agree with the leader?
He should be fired. I agree he should be fired.
We also had Jason Crow saying it's outrageous, it's a leadership failure, and it's why Secretary Hegseth, who undoubtedly sent classified information via this chain, must resign immediately. Chrissy Houlihan also noted when she served in classified environments, and had this happened to her, she would have walked her resignation in immediately. Crow is also a veteran. Claire, I think this is an opportunity, and I shudder to use these terms, but for Democrats to stand up and encourage their Republican counterparts to do the same.
Yeah, we cannot quit talking about this. This should never go off the headlines. This is something that there has to be investigations. Those investigations need to be covered thoroughly by every journalist. Now, they've lost the Wall Street Journal. They've lost the National Review. They've even lost Barstool Sports. So they're clearly, even within the world of their media ecosystem, they are struggling with this issue. And I am very encouraged that Roger Wicker asked the Inspector General to investigate, because the Inspector General is an infantryman like Hegseth, except he doesn't do performative. He's a real Inspector General. He was a colonel. He left the military in 2015, has worked in the Inspector General. He was an Eagle Scout, Simone. If it's an expedited IG report, this guy knows his way around the military. He understands his job as an independent person to look at potential wrongdoing. And I was really encouraged that Roger Wicker is way more important at this point than all the Democrats, but all the Democrats should not let up. They have to keep the pressure on.
Tom, in the time we have left, I'll give you the last word. Where do you think this goes tomorrow?
Never discount the possibility that yet another shoe drops with these folks. Where I hope it goes is exactly as Claire just said, you can't let this go. I don't know how Pete Hegseth can face the people in the military after what he's done, and frankly after this 2 months of kind of flailing about that culminates in this disaster. Where I expect it to go is more stonewalling, more deflecting, more insulting. But I think it's right. I think Claire's point about if Roger Wicker and other Republicans actually decide that this matters, that finally they've found something where someone in this administration has to pay a price, then it won't go away. And I think that would be a really healthy change, at least, just a small one, but a healthy one in this administration.
Tom Nichols and Claire McCaskill, thank you both. Up next, folks, another legal setback for Trump, with the federal appeals court maintaining a temporary block on Donald Trump's use of Wartime Act for deportations.
When we started feeding Bogey, the farmer's dog, he lost so much weight. Pre-portioned packs makes it really easy to keep him lean and healthy.
In the morning, he flies up the stairs and hops up on my bed. In the past, he would not have been able to do any of those things.
Bye-bye cough.
Later chest congestion. Hello, 12 hours of relief.
12 hours? Not coughing? Hashtag still not coughing?
Mucin XDM gives you 12 hours of relief from chest congestion and any type of cough, day or night. Mucin XDM. It's comeback season.
If you have this, consider adding this. An AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan from United Healthcare. Medicare Supplement plans help by paying some of what Medicare doesn't and let you see any doctor, any specialist, anywhere in the U.S. who accepts Medicare patients. So if you have this, consider adding this. Call United Healthcare today for your free decision guide.
Bye-bye cough.
Later chest congestion. Hello, 12 hours of relief.
12 hours? Not coughing? Hashtag still not coughing?
Mucin XDM gives you 12 hours of relief from chest congestion and any type of cough, day or night. Mucin XDM.
Heart failure or chronic kidney disease, Farxiga can help you keep living life, because there are places you'd like to be. Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine and bacterial infection between the anus and genitals, both which may be fatal. Severe allergic reactions, dehydration, urinary tract or genital yeast infections, and low blood sugar. Stop taking and tell your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, rash, swelling, trouble breathing or swallowing. Tell your doctor about lightheadedness, weakness, fever, pain, tenderness, redness or swelling between the anus and genitals. Ask your doctor about Farxiga today.
If you're living with dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy, or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Ask your doctor about iZurvey.
iZurvey gets GA going slower.
Izervay is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression, which may help preserve vision longer.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
So shift gears and get going. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay.
There was a bit of legal news today. A federal appeals court ruled that the Trump administration could not use the Alien Enemies Act to deport migrants. On Monday, Judge Millett of the District of Columbia Circuit said deportees were not given any due process before they were removed from the United States. They also were not given the opportunity to dispute whether they were involved with the gang. The last time the United States used the 1798 law was during World War II. Millett added that Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemies Act. Joining me now is Lee Gelert, Deputy Director of the ACLU Immigrants' Rights Project. Lee, I said your name like 5 times today as this ruling came out, because you actually argued the case before the appeals court for the plaintiffs.
Yes.
Take us into the courtroom and then just your reaction to this ruling.
Yeah, well, it was an intense argument. It went on for a long time. Both sides got tough questions. We're extremely pleased with the ruling. Had the court ruled for the government, we might have seen hundreds more individuals swiftly put on planes and sent to a Salvadoran prison. We believe that these individuals that have already been sent are being held incommunicado. We have not been able to talk to them. And that prison is one of the most notorious in the world. And the El Salvador president has said they may remain there the rest of their lives, despite the fact that they had no process whatsoever to contest their removal. We're talking about using a wartime authority that was meant only when the United States is at war. As you said, it was passed in 1798. It's only been used 3 times in our country's history, all during declared wars: the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. And now President Trump has pulled it out, acting like we're in a war with a gang. And what Judge Henderson said today, one of the judges on the panel, was immigration is not the same as an invasion. And I think that is something that is critical going forward, because not only in this case is President Trump trying to claim that immigration is the equivalent of a wartime invasion, but in a number of other cases. And so we hope the courts will continue to say no to that analogy of migration being an invasion.
So what happens next in this particular case? Because the appeals court has issued their ruling, is this now headed to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, so, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. The government has been saying all along that they will take this to the Supreme Court. So we'll see if in the next couple of days the government appeals the case to the Supreme Court. And what they'll be asking the Supreme Court to do is say, let us continue sending men to the Salvadoran prison with no process while the case goes on. So the case could take a long time to go on, and that during that time they could send hundreds, if not thousands, of men for the rest of their lives to this Salvadoran prison, even though they never had a chance to contest that they're not gang members, and even though we think that this law cannot be used during peacetime against a gang. The law is very clear. Congress was explicit in the statute. This is only to be used against a foreign government or nation in a declared war, or where the United States is being invaded, or there is predatory incursions, all military actions. Yet the president has pulled this out against a gang, a regular criminal gang. And the other thing to emphasize, which the judges have emphasized, is nothing about our lawsuit prevents the government from prosecuting these gang members if they've committed crimes, from detaining them, and even from removing them back to their home countries under the immigration laws. All it prohibits is using this wartime authority during peacetime.
There are more developments happening today. I want to get you to weigh in on the arrest of a Tufts University student. We have the video on the screen. It does not have sound, but what people are seeing is NBC News obtained a video from a homeowner's doorbell camera, and this shows the moment that a Tufts student was arrested by federal law enforcement on Tuesday evening. You can see them taking her away. The agent and the student, they spoke a few words to one another that were inaudible. And then the agent reached toward her, grabbed her hands, moved them down so he could handcuff her. They took her book bag. She's handcuffed, and she is put in the car. The agents were masked. The NBC News has confirmed that this is the Tufts University student that was in question. Her attorney told NBC News that nearly 20 hours after her detention, there are still no charges, and the government has not told them where she is. Her attorney notes this is very bizarre and incredibly concerning. You know, Lee, we have been saying for the last couple of weeks, my colleagues Alicia Menendez and Michael Steele, we have been talking about the fact that this is just a precursor, and that if the federal government can get away with snatching up people on the street, out of their homes, with law enforcement officers, detaining them and not bringing any charges against them, if they can get away with doing that for a certain subset of people, there's nothing to stop them, the United States government, from broadening that out and doing it to others. A due process is important here, and I'm just wondering your reaction to yet another arrest where there have yet been no charges brought by the government.
Yeah, so I don't know the specific facts of this case. I'm still learning them because I'm not her attorney. But I think you're absolutely right on your broad point that once we allow the government to go after certain groups and eliminate due process and eliminate basic rights, that's going to expand. People really need to be careful what they're signing on to and say, oh, well, those are only this group or this group. Sooner or later, it gets broadened, and the precedents that get set with any group of people are going to be broadened sooner or later, and they're going to put everyone at risk. So this is a time for people to stand up and say, we believe in the rule of law, we believe in due process, we believe in a court system, and not to say, well, that's not me being taken away, led away. You're absolutely right. This is a critical time for people to say, wait, we need to stand by principles that have governed this country for more than 200 years.
Lee Gallant, thank you so much for your time tonight and your insight. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Coming up, folks, there was a huge win for Democrats in a very, very, very red district that voted for Donald Trump by more than 15 points in November. It hasn't been blue in 136 years, and that changed last night.
Liberty. Liberty Mutual is all she talks about since we saved hundreds by bundling our home and auto insurance. Liberty.
Hey, kid. It's pronounced Bibberty.
Liberty.
Bibberty.
Liberty.
Bibberty.
Liberty.
Bibberty.
Liberty.
Now she's mocking me. Very mature.
Hey, that's the nephew, too.
Hey, I'm not the one acting like a total baby.
She's 2.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.
Liberty.
Toe fungus is tough to kill, and it can spread.
It's time to start using Fungi-Nail. Maximum strength Fungi-Nail is so powerful it cures and prevents fungal infections. Plus, it has aloe and tea tree oil to restore skin health. Say goodbye to toe fungus with Fungi-Nail.
Grr. What's Simply Safe got that I don't?
24/7 monitoring to help stop crime in real time.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Maybe Simply Safe and I could work together.
Unlikely.
Here you go.
Is there any way to get a better price on this?
Have you checked Single Care? Whenever my customers ask how to get a better price on their meds, I tell them about Single Care. It's a free app accepted at pharmacies nationwide.
Before I pick up my prescription, I always check the Single Care price.
It's quick, easy, and totally free to use.
Single Care can literally beat my insurance copay.
You just search for your prescription and show your Single Care coupon at the pharmacy.
So I just show the coupon and get this price?
That's right. Go to singlecare.com and start saving today.
My husband, Dean, has always worried about his diabetes. He was afraid that once he reached retirement, he wouldn't be able to enjoy it. But getting Dexcom G7 has put Dean in control of his health. Wherever we go, he can easily manage his sugar levels and make sure he's staying in range. Dexcom G7 has given us confidence in the future, wherever it takes us.
Where to next?
Bye-bye, cough.
Later chest congestion. Hello, 12 hours of relief.
12 hours? Not coughing? Hashtag still not coughing?
Mucin XDM gives you 12 hours of relief from chest congestion in any type of cough, day or night. Mucin XDM. It's comeback season.
48% of Americans don't get enough magnesium, which is vital for bone, nerve, and muscle health. I recommend Cunol's Magnesium Glycinate. It's formulated for high absorption and is gentle on the stomach. Cunol, the brand I trust.
This Friday.
Time to get to work.
Get ready.
Wear a suit. I don't have a suit. Now I'm ready.
For the movie that's giving human traffickers what they deserve.
I think he's dead.
Good.
A Working Man. Rated R. Friday.
Pack at your pace, store your things until you're ready. Then we deliver to your new home. Pods.
Missed business calls? They're expensive. Stop missing valuable calls for good. Visit calltrackingmetrics.com.
My bank is all digital.
But where does your money go? It's here somewhere.
This is whack. Way better. Where are we now?
A credit union. They're on and offline.
The American dream starts with purpose. With over 340 academic programs, Grand Canyon University provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. Find your purpose at GCU. Visit gcu.edu.
What was it like when Trump got elected? What was the reaction? Do you think about ICE coming to knock on your front door?
For President Trump's first 100 days, Alex Wagner travels to the story to talk with people most impacted by the policies.
Were you there on January 6th?
I was there on January 6th.
Did it surprise you that you were fired, given how resolutely nonpartisan you have been?
And for more in-depth reporting, follow her podcast, Trumpland with Alex Wagner.
On Tuesday, there was a glimmer of hope for Democrats after they won an election in a ruby-red Trump district. The Associated Press declared Democrat James Malone the winner of the special election for Pennsylvania State Senate seat in Lancaster County. The district hasn't been represented by a Democrat in 136 years. Malone defeated Republican Josh Parsons by nearly 500 votes. Now, Donald Trump won the district by 15 points in November. The next key elections across the country are next week in Wisconsin and Florida. But for more on how Democrats pulled this victory off in Pennsylvania, I'm joined now by Pennsylvania State Senator and State Democratic Chairman Sharif Street. All right, Mr. Chairman, how did y'all do it?
Look, we focused on bread and butter issues, and we had a great candidate who was working on talking to people about the issues in their communities that they cared about.
The Malone is the mayor of East Petersburg, and he narrowly defeated, the Republican that he defeated was a Lancaster County commissioner. Talk about some of the issues that bubbled up into this race, because, here in Washington, D.C., it seems as though Republican elected officials are focused on everything but the economy. I hear a lot about refrigerators. I hear about attacks on trans people. But I have to imagine those were not the issues that came up in this race.
Well, look, the cost of how much it takes to put food in people's refrigerators is an issue that came up. And I think, look, some of the issues end up being local, but the national stuff, we reminded people that he was there to make their lives better, to make sure people had health care that they could afford, make sure that they could afford their basic necessities in life. As opposed to, Trump's agenda was sort of talking about everything but making ordinary people's lives better. And I think sometimes Republicans in Washington getting confused about the mandate, if there was one, was about bringing down the cost of ordinary goods and services and taking care of people's lives. We had a candidate focused on those kind of issues. And it was a great contrast with Trump sitting out there talking about everything but how to make ordinary people's lives better.
The Associated Press talked about the fact that with these elections last night, this very close and remarkable win in this state Senate district, Democrats also held on to the House, the Pennsylvania State House, by winning a seat there. Malone and the Democrats built on a strong advantage in mail-in ballots, the Associated Press writes, to combat the Republicans' significant voter registration edge. Mail-in balloting is, I was a Democratic operative for a very long time, and it used to be Republicans that had the monopoly on mail-in ballots in places like Florida and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Democrats, particularly in Pennsylvania, it seems as though, have also now put a focus on that. Is that how you eked out this win?
Well, absolutely. That's the one way people can vote early here. So we made a point to make sure that we got in as many votes as we could early. We didn't want to rely on people having to show up on election day, particularly on an election day that was sort of off cycle. So getting people to be engaged, making sure they got their votes in. We went into election day with a huge mail-in ballot lead. And it proved to be real important. But I think part of it is in the process of getting those mail-in ballots, we're engaging with voters at their homes, at their doors, talking to people and asking them, did you fill out a ballot? What are the issues you're concerned about? And can you please vote because it matters?
Voting matters. I guess if you have one piece of advice to Democrats across the country, particularly your fellow Democrats in Wisconsin and Florida as they look to their elections in the upcoming week, what would you tell them?
Look, I think we got to get back to basics. We have to talk to people at doors, and we do that. Talk to them about the issues that matter in their lives. Talk to them about the price of goods. Talk to them about keeping their communities safe. Talk to them about making sure they have health care. There's a lot of uncertainty. People are really concerned about all the craziness they see coming out of Washington. Our candidates, our party has to be the party of common sense strategies to make people's lives better. People want to go home, be able to afford their groceries. They want to make sure they can go someplace safe, and they don't really want to hear about all the craziness of Washington because they already know that Donald Trump and the Republicans are doing stupid stuff. They want to know, what are we going to do to make their lives better? If we do that, they'll vote for us.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Pennsylvania State Senator and Democratic State Party Chair Sharif Street, thank you very much. And thank you at home, folks, for watching this hour. That's all for me. I'm Symone Sanders Townsend. I will see you again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. But All In with Chris Hayes starts right now.